in this video, what I want to share with you is one of the ways that Facebook create extra tracking through your pixel to give you more context, or at least give Facebook more context as to who is on your website and what they are interested in. So two parts of this, and this is slightly more advanced in terms of setup, but for a lot of you that are using platforms like Shopify to run your e-commerce store, for example, and maybe a few others, Schema is built in, microdata is built in. So I just want to explain to you what these things are and why they're important. Now, first of all, microdata was set up for catalogs. So if you're running e-commerce and you have a catalog attached to your e-commerce store, you can pull that data into your ads, and Facebook can tell, based on your website, what product or products has the user seen, and therefore which products to pull out of your catalog to resurface to them in your retargeting ad. So dynamic product ads are great for e-commerce retargeting. A lot of people know this and a lot of people use it, and it's great. And in most cases, people don't really need to get involved with the technicalities of it. There's another side of this, which is you can also use dynamic ads on cold audiences. So what that means is you can set up a catalog for your e-com, and you can get Facebook to pull the right products and the right categories into the ad on cold audiences. Cold audiences are ones that are not clicked into your site. So Facebook doesn't have the data from your website, from your pixel, to know that this person's in the market for jeans, or this person's interested in this product, whatever it is, phone case or whatever it is. Yet the dynamic product ads for cold audiences, or broad audiences as Facebook call it, actually works really well. And part of the reason is this: when you set up the pixel on your site, you are telling Facebook about the context of your website. And what that means is you're telling Facebook, this, I'm an e-commerce store, I'm selling these categories, these products, etc., etc. So every time someone hits your website, Facebook is storing that data. Now imagine, you're in the apparel business. Now imagine tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other websites that are out there are also giving Facebook all this data. Now, picture this scenario. You are running a cold audience ad, and you're targeting people. Your store is running let's give you an example. So let's say, for example, you're running a store that targets men that are interested in jeans, women, there's different categories you can see here, and I'll just use this as an example. If you run a cold ad, and that means you run an ad to an audience that hasn't engaged, hasn't clicked, you can still run dynamic ads, and also some of your targeting doesn't have to be so precise, and here's why. Now, first of all, I'm assuming you know what the Pixel Helper is for Chrome. Now, this can reveal a lot of information about the product, about the page, and this applies for e-commerce and other industries as well. Like, this is really important to understand. This is not just an e-commerce thing when it comes to microdata. So, first of all, I'm looking at this setup. It looks like a standard Shopify store, and with Shopify, for example, you can set up your store and your pixel, and Shopify deals with setting up all these custom parameters. You can code it yourself. You can code it into your website. You can use something like Google Tag Manager to inject it into your website. But this is done by default. And what's cool about this is it pulls out the value, $59.99, pulls out the currency, etc., category, whatever. So that's great. That sends the pixel data back to Facebook. Facebook then know, and I fully expect that if these guys are running retargeting, that I will see these products, this product and maybe some related products, in my newsfeed as a retargeting ad. And that's cool because, I might be in the market for jeans. I look at the jeans here, they're interesting, I'm not maybe ready to buy. And then, later on I might be in evening time watching Netflix, browsing Facebook, and these jeans come up and I'm like, yeah, cool. All right, yeah, I'm going to buy it now because, earlier I was busy. So that's great. But one of the other things about this is you can see the actual microdata being sent back as well. So I don't want you to worry about the detail of exactly what's being sent back, But this information is really quite useful for Facebook, quite critical as well. Because what this does is, let's say now I'm on this jean store website and I'm browsing this one product, I browse 2 products, I browse 3 products, different sizes, different colors. Facebook is building that profile up about me. Now, let's say that you are also running a jean store website and you go for cold audiences and you just go broad and you say, here's my ad, I want to target people, men who are 25 to 50, here's my ads. Facebook, just go and find me these people. What Facebook will do is it will find people that have this kind of browsing profile that are in market. And it's really important to understand that Facebook has this data. So if you look at one of the differences between Facebook and Google, a lot of people will do Google bidding on keywords that are things that kind of show that someone's in market. So if I go into Google and I search for Levi's 501 original regular fit men's jeans, blue, whatever it is, that's a really high intent keyword. So if I type that into Google and you're bidding for that, it's going to be expensive because a lot of people will be bidding on that because I'm so far down the conversion funnel because I know which brand I want, which products, which fit, etc. So I've gone down the route of really thinking about what I want. Now, if I just search for blue jeans, I'm kind of further up the consideration path. So at that stage, if you're bidding for the keyword blue jeans, it will probably be cheaper. Maybe, it really depends on the kind of particular niche. Blue jeans, I imagine, is still fairly expensive, but it'll be cheaper than going after something as detailed as this, because I'm still in consideration phase. So even if you get my click and you pay 50 cents, 50 pence, whatever it is, there's no guarantee I'm going to buy because you need to convince me that you have the exact jean I want. And especially with something like jeans, like if I'm buying jeans, I really want to look at the fit. I want to make sure that, for example, I wear Levi's, I know the brand, so that part of it's fine. But if you're selling something which doesn't have a brand or it's something quite different, you're going to have to take that opportunity to work harder on that conversion. So, Google is great for finding intent, but you end up paying for that intent as well. The cool thing about Facebook is if I'm browsing this jean store right now and I've looked at a few different jean sizes or colors and things like that, Facebook is picking up that profile data because I have this website has the pixel installed. So even though this website has nothing to do with your store whatsoever, Facebook is still picking that data up on me. I am still a Facebook user. And because I'm in this browser session, I'm still logged into Facebook in another tab. Facebook's collecting that data on me, so it knows that I'm on this website. You can opt out, and there's a whole separate privacy thing there. But generally, Facebook is building up this profile of me. Now, what this means is you have to have the schema data set up properly on your website. So there'll be links below to kind of show you a bit more about micro catalogs and kind of the detail behind how they're set up and things like that. So I don't want to go into the detail of the setup here, but what I want you to understand is the data that you can pass back to Facebook and how that works. Now, the sub-context of this is I used to work quite deep in the world of SEO. What's the relevance between SEO and Facebook schema data? It's this. Now, schema.org was set up, 8-10 years ago, whenever it was, and it gives you it's founded by a number of different companies, and it was created to create a kind of uniform structure behind data. So here's the thing. If you look at a website, intuitively you'll get an idea of what it is. So, is it a book site, movie site, etc., etc., all these different objects, as they're called. So you as a human can interpret it. A bot, which is a computer application that looks at a website based on the data, which is HTML and all that kind of stuff, doesn't know. It doesn't know the difference between, like, if it lands on this website, it doesn't realize that this is not an e-commerce store versus the Levi store until it starts to get some context. So, for example, when you're passing this data back, there's data here which will give an idea to bots as to what this product, what this website is about. That helps, for example, Google as a search engine to understand, is this an e-commerce store, is it an informational store, is it a blog store, so that when you're doing a search organically and you want cinema listing times for whatever the movie is and whatever, it knows to pull that data out and which results to surface. So this schema.org was really set up for search purposes, and it's awesome. What Facebook now do is use similar, if not the same data to do the same. So Facebook's bot, which is how the pixel works as well, will go into your site and understand the context of it. So here's the thing, if you've just launched a jeans store and you've got no clicks, no data, etc., how does Facebook know the context? Well, as some of you will have already seen, when you launch a new website and you install the pixel, you get these hits from Menlo Park or wherever it is. It's California or maybe even Dublin or places like that. It's the bot going through and crawling your website to understand the data and the context. Now, part of this is for security measures and policy. The other part is just to help the pixel to learn. So as soon as you install that pixel, Facebook is looking at the context of your website. So even before you run that first ad, Facebook's learning. So, if you've got that data set up properly, and this is why it's really important to understand schema, if you want to take advantage of this, and I absolutely believe that 100% of people need to, then make sure your schema data is set up. So the actual detail of how you do it, there'll be links below to give you an idea of what goes into creating the microdata and the schema data. But in most cases, your platform should look after it. If it doesn't, then you can use Google Tag Manager and hire a developer to code parts of it in to give you additional data to arm yourself with better performance. So, this is how this kind of works in terms of building out context. So this is just one example here where you can see under the View Content Pixel event, there's custom parameters passed. And the other cool thing about custom parameters is you can create custom audiences based on that as well. So for example, when you create a custom audience, you could find people based on value and things like that. So you've got custom conversions, custom events, custom audiences, and you can play a lot off that as well. So that's a completely separate part. But just right now, I want you to understand that the schema and microdata setup can make a huge difference to your ability to run broader audiences. And this works for e-com, info, any other kind of setup you've got. If you can give the context back, and if Facebook can match that to users, makes a huge difference. Now, one of the other things I wanted to kind of share is how some different websites set this up as well. So this is another store, Lululemon, which some of you will be aware of. Now, one of the interesting things about this is when you're doing pixel hacking. So pixel hacking for me is I go to websites because I want to be inspired by what they're doing. I want to see what they're doing to get an idea for anything that I could be kind of picking up on. So this product here, for example, £44, product name, etc. If you notice here, this was set up correctly. So the value of this product is $59.99 and the currency is GBP, which is how it should be set up. Here, they're not actually passing that data back, which is a bit of a problem, because if you're doing retargeting, you're losing out on potentially using return on ad spend based optimizations, which is to get you the higher basket value and service higher value products as well. But the other thing here is actually when I looked at the microdata, they're actually sending back the price here. So if I just find it here, the price currency is GBP, that's perfect. The price is £44.00. That is incorrect. That is not the way that you should be sending it back. And then this is not to pull out a big brand and say, this is not, they're not doing it right. Sometimes it does go wrong, and that's absolutely fine. But what you need to do is to just make sure that you are setting it up properly to give yourself the best chance of success. And actually, what you can do is you can then take that to Facebook's debugger tool and get an idea of actually whether it's set up properly. So here, this is in ads in your business manager. You can actually go and debug the microdata. So here I've pasted in that URL that I just shared with you, and I've pre-run this already because it takes 2-3 minutes to run. So I just wanted to run that ahead of recording this, and you can go through the details and see exactly what's been set up and what's been passed. So You can see Open Graph here. Open Graph for this means that if that product, or sorry, that page is shared on Facebook, this is the image that it's going to pull through. So that's already been set. That's great. Then you look at schema.org, and this is how I knew. I mean, I don't go into the pixel and you know, I can't laser focus and pull out problems, but this is how I knew it was incorrect, because also Facebook tells me that as well. So the price was incorrectly formatted. Just take that out, then solved. You know, that's done. So that's kind of just giving you an idea of what the importance is of the schema data, what you're looking for, why you want to get this set up properly. You know, schema.org is where you should go if you want to go deeper into this. You don't have to, but I just wanted to make sure that as an advanced technique for getting the best out of your website and reducing the need to be so laser targeted in your audiences, there is a better way to do it by using microdata and schema markup.